this just makes this business so much easier. Once you get really good at these 5 skills, you don't have to look around and worry about what am I missing. If you get really good at these 5 skills and you help your coaches your partners get good at these 5 skills, you're going to have a lot of success. And I think a lot of times coaches or partners are afraid to invite to the partner opportunity because they're like, I'm still learning how this works. How am I even going to be able to mentor somebody else when I'm still learning? That's what these 5 skills allow you to do without feeling like you're missing something and starting to get in your own head. If you get really good at these and you help your coaches get good at this, you're done. So that's why I love this. Okay, so skill number 1 is hashtag sharing your journey. Hashtag sharing your journey. A few years back, I went to an event with Eric Worre. Eric Worre hosted an event. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he wrote the book GoPro. He hosts the GoPro event. At one of the events I went to, he had us do this exercise that really blew my mind. So he kind of told us a 4-step process for sharing your story. The first step is sharing your background, sharing a little bit about yourself, occupation, where you're from, where you live, your hobbies, family, interests. The second was sharing your pain points, what you are currently struggling with, what you currently don't like about your situation. Or maybe if you've overcome that already, what didn't you like about your situation, about your thought process, about the job you had, your boss, whatever it was. What were those pain points for you, or what are they currently? So that's number 2. Number 3 is sharing the solution that you found. And number 4 is sharing how you now feel about your future now that you found that opportunity or that solution. So what he had us do in this exercise was find somebody that we didn't come to the event with, someone we've never met before, and we had to take turns sharing those 4 parts of our story. And it was pretty cool. Like the person that I met with, I felt like I got to know them a little bit. Then he had us sit back down and find someone new that we had never talked to before. And this time we only shared number 1 and 2. And he said to really emphasize and take more time to talk about number 2, the pain points. When I sat down after that conversation, I felt like I had known that person my entire life, and I was rooting for them to overcome the obstacles that they had in their life. I'm getting chills just thinking about that conversation. He had us sit back down, get back up again, and this time we had to find someone totally new and only share number 3 and 4. The solution we found and how we felt about our future now that we found the solution. I sat back down. I felt like I had no clue who that person was, had no invested interest in their future. I was excited for them. It sounded like they were excited and it was a cool thing that they were doing, but I didn't know them. And I feel like sometimes when we're sharing on social media, we're sharing our journey, a lot of times that's the only thing we're sharing is number 3 and 4. We're sharing about the solution we found, and we're sharing about how excited we are about it. And we're not taking the time to meet people in the shit. We're not taking the time to connect with people on our pain points, the things that piss us off about our current situation. or the things that used to piss us off, and really reliving those and sharing that aspect of our story, the past pain points and the current pain points. That's where we really start to connect with people. That's when people start to really kind of lean in and think, this isn't just somebody that like is super excited and good for them. They're like, this person's like going through or been through the same thing that I'm dealing with that I don't really like about my situation right now. Then they're willing to listen to the solution. Then they're willing to listen about how excited you are about your future. So that's the 4-step process for sharing your story. Another little thing I love is something called FORM, FORM. So F is family, O is occupation, R is recreation, and M is message. This is something I learned like when I first started as a coach. And again, a lot of times we focus and start with the message, our message, but we don't take the time to connect with people and see where we have commonalities in family, occupation, recreation, those type of things. So that kind of plays in with that 4-step process for sharing your journey. So this like sharing your journey on social media is about being real and honest with people. And yeah, like nobody wants somebody who's just sharing only the good all the time. Like that's eventually people are like going to tune you out. But also nobody wants to listen to somebody who's only sharing the struggles all the time. So sharing what you're struggling with, being real, being a human being, being honest, coming from the heart, but then also sharing how you're working to overcome that. Maybe you haven't overcome whatever that struggle is, but you can start to share what you are trying and letting people know, I'm nervous about it. Like, I think it's going to work. I'm not sure, but this is what I'm doing because I'm tired of staying where I was. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So this is skill number 1 that I really try to ask the coaches like that or partners that I'm chatting with. How confident do you feel about sharing your journey on social media? Like, and one of the things I always do on these one-on-one calls is I just have them give me like a score 1 to 10. And you guys can do that if you want, in the chat, or if you're watching the recording in the comments. For that skill number 1, just sharing your journey on social media on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you kind of feel you're at with that? And this is something that, Ashley always says, like, you got to re-fall in love with your journey. That is so true. When I am in love with my journey, with the workouts I'm doing, with the professional development that I'm listening to, with the people I'm chatting with, I can't help but share what I'm doing. And my confidence level with sharing on social media and all of it just goes from like, a 5 up to a 7 or an 8. There's always room for improvement. You can always get better, but I think just helping coaches identify where they're currently at with that is huge. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, I don't know why I talk in hashtags. I've been doing this since like as long as I can remember, but number 2 is hashtag find and connect. Find and connect. So you can continuously be re-falling in love with your journey and continuously getting better at sharing your journey on social media. But if you have the same 2 or 3 people liking and watching your stuff every day, it's going to be really hard to hit Success Club or start to build a business. So finding and connecting is something that I've, naturally wasn't great at, but it's something that I had to learn. I was probably like a 2 or a 3 at, but I started to learn little cool ways to connect with people that I had things in common with. So one of the things I do on Facebook is you can search in the search bar, like just type in your city, where you're from or where you live or a city nearby. And at the very bottom, like it'll show you a couple things, but at the bottom you can search, it'll say like filters. And you can click on that and it'll show you one of the options is groups. So you can find groups, tons of different groups of that current city. That's one of the ways I've connected with a lot of people in the different places I've lived, that have some then became customers and partners. Another thing I do is just go into my Facebook profile and I'll click on suggested friends. So if you go and you click on your friends, and then one of the options is suggested friends. Another cool thing is just, and I use the Habit Share app as like a way to just keep track of what I need to be doing each day. And one of the things is I just see like who of my Facebook friends have a birthday that day. And I don't just post on their wall. Like I try to scroll back and see like what have they been up to? What have they posted recently? And then I send them like a private message just to kind of reconnect with them and let them know happy birthday, and then say something about something I saw like on their feed, or maybe they, if I like hadn't done the birthdays for like a day or two, I'll go back and see like what they posted on their birthday, and just kind of let, just chat about that and reconnect with those people. Another cool thing on Instagram, I'll go on Instagram and I'll click on the people that I'm following, and you can sort, it'll when you click on who you're following, it'll just sort it by default, but you can click on earliest, so you can see like the people that you first followed on Instagram. It's pretty interesting. And I'll scroll through that and I'm like, oh man, like I haven't talked to this person in so long. Like we used to chat all the time. And so I'll just go to who I'm following. Instead of default, I'll go to earliest, and then I'll just scroll through and see like who are some of the people that I need to reconnect with. So that's that second skill of like just reconnecting, finding new people, but also reconnecting with people that we've kind of lost touch with, which is why I love the birthdays and the kind of earliest IG. And then I just try to be human. Like I try to enjoy the conversations I'm having with those people. And again, like where are like those commonalities that we have? We're from the same place. We have the same hobbies. We have, the same pain points. We used to work at the same place, like those type of things. And then just ask them a little bit about like what's going on in their life, and just strike up a conversation that way. And so that's something I ask, the new partners or the existing partners on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel you're doing with connecting with new people, adding new people to your contact list, getting new eyes on your journey, and then reconnecting with old people on a scale of 1 to 10? This is something I do with myself pretty religiously too. Again, it kind of helps me find those kinks in the hose. So that's number 2. Part of that too is like, I don't know if you guys have heard of 10 in play. That's something I have used for a long time. Like I always try to have like a list of like the 10 people that I would want as customers or partners, like more than anybody else. They're my top 10 list. And it's a list that's on my whiteboard that I see constantly until until they join or they are like totally out. Then I'll add someone to that 10 in playlist. And I heard like, people always say like, make your list of 100 people. You could even start with like 50, make your list of 50 people by just looking at like going into your IG and looking at the people that you started following earliest. And then just going through and making a list of like, who are the people that you would love to work with, that you would love it if they joined you in a challenge group or became a partner. So number 3 is hashtag invite to the party. This is one where I think we overcomplicate this one too. So when I'm inviting someone to a challenge group or a 21-day challenge or the business opportunity, I try to think of it like I'm throwing a party and I just want to get the invitation out there. Like if I was going to throw a party on Friday night, I wouldn't write this super long message to people. I would just shoot them a text and say, hey, like I'm having a party Friday. Would love it if you could make it. And if they don't respond or they don't show up, like I'm not going to get offended by that. The thing that I'm more worried about is I throw a party and I forget to invite somebody to it. So that's just my mindset when I'm doing a 21-day challenge each month, is just making sure that I'm inviting people to the party. And if they can make it, great. If they can't, great. And it's a BYOTSP, bring your own total solution pack. That's kind of how I treat my parties that I throw once a month. And if someone says, I can't make it or whatever, I always let them know that's totally cool. Like I'm going to be throwing these parties once a month, and I can send you the invite next month if you want. And they're like, that'd be great. Thank you. And then I add them to my list to make sure that I don't forget to invite them to the party the following month. I think just that mindset alone helps a lot of coaches, a lot of partners go from like maybe a 2 or a 3 on inviting to at least like a 5 or a 6. And one thing that I always try to think about when I'm inviting is get out of your head. That's what I tell myself, at least. Get out of your head, come from your heart. And we can spend all day looking at like a message and trying to craft the perfect response, the perfect invite. But that's because we're so worried about what other people think of us. And that's just not a fun way to go through life. And it's not a fun way to build a business either. So if you get out of your own head and stop worrying as so much about what other people are going to think about you, and you just are having fun and keeping it simple and throwing a party each month and just making sure that you don't forget to invite people to the party, that just gets you out of your head and allows you to come more from the heart and just have fun with it and keep it simple. Number 4 is give an amazing experience. So part of that number 3 skill, the inviting to the party, is when I invite someone to the party and they ask me and they say something like, how much does it cost? I always say like, it kind of depends on like what you're looking for. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Or if they say, yeah, tell me more about it. I always say, well, there's a few options. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions about your like fitness and nutrition goals? And then once they say, yeah, totally, then I ask them like, what's their current fitness routine? I ask them like, how is their relationship with food? Like, how do they feel their nutrition is currently? I ask them in the last year, like, how many times have you started a workout routine or a new diet and fell off? I ask them, like, are you more of a gym person or do you work out from home? So I'm starting to try to show them that I'm not just trying to fit them in a box and sell them like one thing. I'm trying to actually get to know them better to figure out what their pain points are so I can help them have the best solution. And if they tell me like they want to lose 10 pounds, I want to know more like about why they want to lose the 10 pounds. Like, I want to know why is that important to you? That's great. You want to lose 30 pounds, but like, what would that give you? Why is that important to you? And then they start to give you the real answers. Like, I want to have more energy to run around with my kids. I want to get rid of this like tight back so I can get down on the ground and play with my kids. I just want to feel confident, like putting on my bathing suit. those are the type of conversations that I like having with people, like after I give them that initial just kind of fun and simple invite to the party. And I think that that helps them understand that I'm not just trying to sell them something to sell them something. I don't really give a shit about the $50 or the $70 or the 2 Success Club points. I could care less about that. What I care about is that they just get over their doubts and their hesitations and just hop in and join this party. That's what I care about. And I think they start to see that, and they can tell I'm not just trying to sell them something. And my job isn't to sell them something. Our job isn't to sell stuff or to get 2 points. Like, they can start to tell when you have these conversations with them that you are going to actually, your job starts once they say yes. And that question about like, how many times in the last year or two have you started something and stopped? They start to realize like those things they started and stopped before were different because they never had you before. The programs and the nutrition are not up for debate. They're proven, they work if people stay consistent with them. And that's where we come in. We as partners are the glue of this entire business. And that's what people have to understand, that they're purchasing. They're not just purchasing the workouts or a nutrition plan or supplements. That they're getting you and the community that they've never had before, which is why they've fallen off so many times in the past and never been able to stick with anything. So and then that leads into, that fourth skill of giving an amazing opportunity. You already are giving them an amazing opportunity in the third skill of the invite, by asking them questions and having those conversations with people. And then as far as giving them an amazing opportunity, amazing hashtag give an amazing experience, I love having one-on-one Zooms with my new challengers and going like, clicking through BODi with them and showing them where the calendar is for the workout that we decided together they were going to do, showing them where like the meal plan, the nutrition videos are, showing them like kind of where they're going to be logging their workouts. And then also like at the end of that party, a 21-day challenge, if that's what you guys run, I love giving out like little prizes, like I'll do like a little raffle at the end of 21-day challenges. Anybody that commented and checked in at least 15 out of the 21 days I'm going to enter their name in a raffle and then raffle off like $50 towards any Beachbody product they want. And one of the coolest things that I'm going to try next that might, I think, even be even more beneficial for giving people a really great experience is the accountability bet. Having people put in $10, and at the end of the challenge, the people that checked in a certain amount of times, whatever you decide, they get to split the pool, split the pot. So now they have a little bit of extra skin in the game, just $10, but they can guarantee themselves that they're going to get that money back, and then some additional income on top of that too, which is pretty cool. So part of giving an amazing experience is being in that challenge with them, instead of just selling something and then throwing somebody into a group. Like, be your best challenger. That's like something I try to remind myself all the time, is I want to be my best challenger too. So I'm always, as one of the things Ashley says that I love is falling in love with my journey. I'm always trying to find ways to grow physically and mentally, and surround myself with people that are doing those same things. And then sharing those things in the group and connecting with those people. And then number 5 is hashtag partner up. Number 5 is inviting those challengers that are having an amazing experience to partner up with you, to become a partner. Again, this is another thing that we tend to get in our heads about, but a lot of times, I just let them know, like, everything I see you doing, like, I think you would be such a great partner. That's it. And I'll try to I try to bridge the gap between what a customer and a partner is. Because I think a lot of times people think that's a huge leap, when in reality, it's not as big of a leap for the challengers that are already crushing their workouts, showing up, checking in, like that. They're already kind of encouraging other people in the group. And sometimes I'll even like ask people like, hey, the more, when they first join the challenge group, I say the more you just get out of your comfort zone and share and connect and comment on other people's posts and reply and like, the more you get out of your comfort zone and interact, the more they're going to interact and the better the experience everyone's going to have. And then once that starts to happen, I'm able to easily say like, you're kind of already doing what we do as partners. I think you'd be great at it. And they start to kind of realize that they're already kind of doing what we do. And that gap between customer and coach, we start to bridge that gap a little bit. So those are the 5 skills. We're at 12:32 my time. So once I go through with like a new coach or a veteran coach, or I do this with myself and I give myself a score of 1 to 10, it's pretty easy to identify where the kinks in the hose are. If you can help yourself and you can help your partners get to at least a 7 out of 10 on their why, hopefully more than a 7 out of 10 on their why. If you can get them to a 7 or an 8 on their belief, and you can get them to a 7 or an 8, 7.5, on each of those 5 skills, you don't have to look around and think that you're missing something. You're going to start to have success once you get yourself to that point, and your coaches, your partners are going to start to have success once you help them get to that point. I can't tell you like how many times I've found a coach where they had the why, they had the belief, they were doing great with sharing on their journey, they were connecting, they're following up, they're inviting, they're giving people a great experience, but they're not inviting to the partner opportunity because they're afraid for some reason. And when I get to, it's funny, like I'll go through with people and they're like, I'm like a 7 or an 8 on that one, 7 or 8 on, and then we get to the inviting and they're like, ooh, I'm like a 2. Boom. You just identified why that coach is struggling. And then sometimes they're like a 7 or 8 on everything, all the way up to that 5th one. And they say, ooh, yeah, inviting to the partner opportunity, like I'm like a 2. I've seen that so often. And then it's so funny once we start to chat a little bit about like how to get out of their own way with that 5th and final skill, all of a sudden you see their business just like explode to another level. So I hope this helps. This is like, again, like we get to kind of put on our problem solving hat as leaders and kind of help our partners identify like where the gaps are, where the kinks are, and then help them unkink those things. And honestly, that's like that's probably the favorite thing of all the things I do as a BODi partner is helping people find those little gaps and then seeing the light bulb go off, helping them think a little bit differently about one of those or 2 of those little skills and seeing that totally change their energy and the results in their business. So I hope that helps you guys become better problem solvers. And I hope it just takes the pressure off of feeling like what a leader is. Because if I ever feel like, oh, this leader thing's tough, like I always am like, I just need to go back to these 7 things. And if I can help my coaches identify where they're off, help them think a little bit differently about where they're off and start to make improvements, like they're going to crush it. They don't have to second guess themselves as leaders either, because they can just use that same strategy with their partners. Cool. All right, guys, I will post